Newsfirst Newsline with Faraz Shaukutali.
And top of the morning to you. This is Newsline, live as always from the Newsfirst studios in Dawson Street in Colombo. Come sun, come rain, we're here live from Dawson Street. And what a terrible morning this has turned out to be. It's raining, almost cats and dogs. But the problems and the question marks still remain. And in the studio here, all the way, thanks to the motorway on time, is Mr. Shamindra Ferdinando, all the way from Negombo, live in the studio. Good morning to you, Shamindra.
Good morning, Faraz.
And it's enormously nice of you to turn up here virtually on time. And thank you for that. Now then, Shamindra, I know it's raining, cats and dogs, and water's everywhere, but the sun ain't shining in terms of elections, is it? Why the delay? Why is the UNP vacillating?
I think they are struggling. They are really struggling to reach a decision on their candidate.
Is that because they've got so many that are promising leaders?
Actually, the UNP leader, Mr. Wickramasinghe, wants to contest this time because he did not contest into 2010 and 2015.
Right.
The UNP fielded outsiders.
Right.
General Sarath Fonseca, then Maithripala Sirisena, the former SLP General Secretary. And this time, Mr. Wickramasinghe is interested. He wants to contest. Then the Speaker, Kalu Jayasuriya, has also indicated that he is ready to contest if all factions agree to field him. And the Deputy Leader, Sajith Premadasa, has very clearly stated that he wants to contest this time.
Right.
And I think the majority, the vast majority of the UNP parliamentary group and also the constituents of the UNF are backing Sajith Premadasa.
So basically what you're saying is that outside of the
working committee,
yes, outside of the working committee, there is a serious consensus that Sajith Premadasa should be their candidate.
As far as I know, I believe Mr. Premadasa is the leading candidate, and I'm confident that he will get the opportunity to contest.
As a print media journalist, and you clearly deal with a lot of your correspondence and so on, well, what feedback are you getting? Is that replicated across the country?
Actually, for us, the UNP deputy leader has the support of the electorate. His group is trying to convince the current leadership that Sajith Premadasa is the best person to contest.
But there's nothing really to convince, because it appears nobody wants RW as the leader.
I think he suffered serious setback following last week's attempt to abolish the executive presidency, to reach consensus among members of the cabinet. But of course, the president's allegations in this regard have been contradicted by the Prime Minister.
Well, yes, but I have a quick way of solving all this. And I think we learned that lesson when we followed what happened to Arjun Aloysius during the Bond scam. Do you remember? Yes. He said the phone went in the swimming pool, and the good old CID fellows got together and had a look at the phone, and lo and behold, over 3,000 telephone calls between all sorts of people.
Members of Parliament included.
Yes. I mean, you know, so it's so clear, almost as night and day, that nobody wants Ranil Wickramasinghe. He's past his sell-by date, he's past his use-by date.
No, I think he still has support among the parliamentary group.
What, but 3 people? Akila and...
I'm not sure of the numbers for us, but you know, in politics it's not fair to say that he has only 2 or 3, but he's still the leader. He's still the leader. And
but he's the leader. Isn't it true that he has meddled around with the constitution of the UNP when, at a time when they were not in power and where people were sort of really, you know, half-baked about everything, and so he got away with it during times of being out of power and there was no remote possibility of them ever coming into power at that time. So he managed to get away by tinkering with the United National Party's, constitution.
I don't blame one person, but the system for us, because see,
You must be the only man in the country to say this, apart from Ranil.
No, because even the other members of the party, they should have opposed him at that time, right? Now see, over a period of time, they have sort of rejected criticism, concerns raised by the membership. They have operated the way they wanted. Now they are in trouble because they promised to solve this problem by 31st of August. End it, and to form the National Democratic Front and also pick the candidate. Now today is September 24. They are still unable to reach consensus. Now last week we were told they will decide by Wednesday. Now they say the working committee will meet on Thursday. So something really wrong with that party. But for us, I must tell you, not only the UNP, if you take the political party represented in parliament, all of them are in serious trouble.
But Shamindra, even you, senior journalist as you are, even you are talking as though there is no difference between RW and the UNP. You're talking as though they're one fused item. They're not. They're two different things. There's Ranil there on one side, and there's UNP is the grand old party. And really, though, I want to go on to other things because it's clear that Ms. Wickramasinghe's leadership has come under fire, and now led by the youthful members of the United National Party and the parliamentary group, and even they
youthful for us. They're
well,
in their
youthful,
40s, early 50s.
Well, they're youthful compared to the old
Compared
fossils. They're who are in their 70s or knocking 70.
So there's no difference between the UMP and the other political parties.
No, I'm not talking. I'm just talking about everybody in politics per se. Now that,
but I must tell you one thing for us. If you take the SLFP, if you take the SLPP, see that even they have been forced to bring an outsider, the former defense secretary, as their candidate. Why? Because our system has failed.
It certainly has failed, but if we talk about the United National Party, we have to remember that it was the policies of the United National Party that took this country from the dark days of Mrs. B's governance and entered this open free market, which Wickramasinghe is proud to, from time to time, to sort of
Remind us.
To remind us. But it is those policies that sustained this country through the dark ages of the war and so on, because the economy was robust. Think about it. How many fortunes have been made within that 30 plus years? Think about it. How many jobs have these entrepreneurs created and opportunities created and dreams given life to? So many families and so on, all within this ambience of this blessed war that we had. And now we have somebody who is proudly saying, oh look, we're stuck in a $4,000 per capita GDP and we need a new trajectory and all that. What on earth have they done for the last 4.5, nearly 5 years coming up next July?
Why they robbed the central bank twice. In 2015 and 2016. They signed the Geneva Resolution, who sponsored it, thereby betrayed the armed forces of this country. So
yesterday, very proudly, he admits that Sri Lankan Airlines has cost $1 billion and we're all going to have to pay for it. Well, I'm not so sure that Mr. Wickramasinghe pays any taxes to start with. And anyway, apart from that, why the Sri Lankan Commission that they're looking into, why are they starting from years gone by? Why not start from now and go backwards? Because then all the cancellation charges, all that was going to be found out.
But for us, if you talk about the Sri Lankan Airlines, I think I blame both political parties.
Oh, no,
the previous lot also.
Yes, not only the previous lot, this whole blessed thing's been going on for years and years.
So the previous government also responsible for that happened to what they did to the Sri Lankan Airlines. They ruined the national carrier.
Well, yeah, because you can't have a planter come up and try and run an airline. You simply can't do
Or
that.
Mr. Dishanta Wickramasinghe.
Well, he was a planter. He was a planter. He was a planter, only to be replaced by somebody who knows how to sell a cup of coffee. Probably good. But then, what's going to happen? They're all arguing about this. They're vacillating and, and clutching at every passing straw to be in power. Isn't that what this is all about?
For us, they'll have to decide soon because the SLPP named its candidate on 11th of August.
So has
then
the
JVP named its candidate on 18th of August. So today is September 24th.
Do you know,
so they have to name soon.
On Newsline, we encourage you to send us your questions, 0772 300 305. If the producer's up and about, he's going to put it on your screen. And we're in conversation with Shamindra Ferdinando. And amongst the first questions, or it's a statement actually, the person who's sending this is saying, please give Shamindra a pat on the back. He said the right thing about the bond. It's the single most, is it the single most dastardly act that has caused all these problems?
Actually, for us, that is the truth. Because the bond scam, the first bond scam, forced President Maithripala Sirisena to complain to the Bribery Commission. That was the beginning of the end, actually, right? If the bond scam did not take place, see, President Sirisena went out of his way to save the UNP by dissolving the parliament.
Well, yes, he gave them a very wide leash.
Yes.
It's almost like
2 years the president tried to save the partnership. So, those who blame President Sirisena must always keep in their minds that the bond scam caused the chaos, nothing else.
Well said, well said, well said. I can see them all clapping in the control room. Well said. But, on the other side, on the flip side, we had President Rajapaksa, who's obviously so much in love with his wife, the former First Lady, that he appointed her brother as the chairman of Sri Lankan Airlines. And the only thing I can remember about that whole period is the photographs that emerged in the media, like this. The chairman with somebody, taken like this. What on earth? They treated as this was their own problem. And then back again, flip again to this side, and the second bond. Nobody's even looked at it. The Commission of Inquiry stopped there. The cut-off date was the first day that second bond was issued. So no one's talking about the 6 billion approximately, give or take $1 billion, let's say, right? That was made by that particular company in that second bond.
Yes.
And so when Malik Samaravikrama, always a friend of RW, and
not anymore.
well, no, that's a Trojan horse. I was going to say that. There's nobody's ever going to say that he's abandoned dear Anil, his friend of so many years. Come on. He's confidant and all that.
But for us, I believe.
And when they come up, this is what I'm trying to say. When they come up and say, "Oh, tamba satyak padu nae me ratata, $1 billion tiyena maha bankuwe." Yeah, right. That's from the first bond, matey. That's from the first bond. Have they not heard? Have you? You must have written articles about this. Proceeds of crime. Proceeds of crime.
For us, they involve the banking system, the parliament in the cover-up, right?
Who was it who said? This is a little question for you. Who was it who said, "I insisted on the change of the system of issuing bonds because under the previous administration there were claims, so the primary dealers say, of fraud and corruption"?
The Prime Minister.
Yes, he said that.
Actually,
himself.
for us, I think Arjuna Mahendran said so before the Commission. He admitted that the change was ordered by the Prime Minister.
Here's another interesting observation. Talking of the robbery at the central bank, maybe R.W. learned how to do it from his great friend and accomplice M.R., under whose watch there were so many raids on that bank.
I don't know. I really don't know. But of course, the previous government conducted many questionable deals, transactions, and if you go through PAC and COPE reports in Parliament, I think the most of the parliamentary group senior ministers of the previous government responsible for serious waste, corruption.
Yeah.
But the issue about central bank for us, although Minister Rajendra Seyararatne and several other people had said that they have robbed so many billions or millions, I don't know, the allegations are there.
Now then, I want to say this. I'll just ask a very simple question. If we now examine the way in which this Dr. Indrajit Kumaraswamy led administration of the central bank issues bonds, guess what? It's almost the same with very minute changes, the same as the system that was in place since 1997.
That was introduced by Mr.
By A.S. Jayawardena, right? And, you know, in all these years, I've only heard one person make some sense, and ironically that coming from Dr. Indrajit Kumaraswamy. The other day, last week, when he said that there was a real need for the central bank not to have the Treasury Secretary on the board. Because he said that they were not permanent secretaries anymore, not like in the good old days when permanent secretaries were permanent. They were there. They didn't move anywhere. Governors came, ministers came and all that, and they just went. But they were there.
The secretaries remain.
Yes, but now these positions have been politicized. And so he suggested that the best way was to have these people appointed by the Constitutional Council, independent, so that the central bank would be an island on its own.
Farah, there are very serious allegations against the Constitutional Council too.
Yes, I know, but the theory, the plan is pretty good, because what Dr. Kumaraswamy said is that every time it will bring some sort of order to the system, because every time politicians want money, they just, through their Treasury Secretary, they virtually get the central bank to print money. Even if it's not cash notes, when you issue bonds and bills, it is like printing money.
Yes.
Right? And to do away with that, that is one of the most sensible things that I've heard in recent times. Now then, why do you think Mr. Premadasa, I mean, this is the ironical part of this the whole thing. He's 52. He's got plenty of life in him. There aren't any credible allegations of wrongdoing. And yet, Mr. Wickremesinghe seems to think, oh no, he can't be here. Why? I mean, whether you like it or not, Mr. Wickremesinghe has been the head of this party for what, 25 years? 40 years in Parliament, 25 years as leader of the party, 5 times Prime Minister, and has led the party to defeat in over 26 elections over a period of time at different levels. And this is Westminster style politics?
You made reference to allegations against the deputy leader. I mean, there are no allegations.
No allegations at all. I've been a journalist.
For us, Minister Premadasa was summoned by the Corruption Commission yesterday.
Well, yes, I was only to give an explanation, and he's done that.
True. So I mean, unless somebody is found.
And by the way, Mr. Premadasa was not sent a little questionnaire on a piece of paper typed up with the questions and sent in the post, you know, and then he typed his answers out. with a battery of lawyers behind him. No, he didn't do that. He went there in person and he answered the questions. Thank you very much, and he came out smiling.
But for us, I must tell you, I must stress that our system is corrupt. The parliament is corrupt, very corrupt.
But it's politicians who's made it that way.
Sure, but officials also cooperate with politicians. See, just consider the statement made by, I mean, revelation regarding the Solicitor General and Hisanka Senadipati. Very serious for us, right? So I must tell you that you must, I mean, we must, as a nation, we must actually inquire into what's going on in the parliament, the public sector and the private sector, and no big corrupt deal or a project or operation, whatever you call it, can be carried out without public sector and the private sector working together. You take any big corrupt deal, any, you take the Central Bank, you take the Central Expressway, you take anything else, you will realize the public sector, the public sector and the private sector and some members of the parliament, they work together.
I'll tell you, these viewers, our viewers, are really hot on this subject. And I think they're suggesting, somebody's asking, has Shamindra forgotten about the Greek bonds, etc.?
I pointed out earlier, the previous government was also accused of very serious waste, corruption and irregularities. Many cases, right?
And all the way from Norelia, all the way from Norelia.
I will not defend anybody for us, because I will not defend any political party or any politician.
I'm glad you said that, because we respect you as an independent, free-thinking, liberal journalist. All the way from Norelia is this comment. Why is Ranil so greedy for power? Never let others to go for leadership. People will have to think about the central bank robbery and the Easter Sunday attack. Regards from Norelia.
Yeah, I think the UNP, a section of the UNP, believed the former defense secretary would be disqualified, right? But I must appreciate a very good statement made by Minister Ranjit Madhuba Bandara.
Which is?
He is backing Sajid Premadasa's candidacy. He made a very good statement. He said the abolition of the executive presidency should not be an election promise.
Of course.
Right? So it's a very important statement, because I think one faction of the UMP trying to woo the Tamil vote by promising them again.
Well, I think the people really have been shortchanged, because the people were not asked about a fixed term of parliament of 4.5 years, and we have that in law. And the 19th Amendment, as that wonderful legal man, the big man, the late Hemanta Warnakula Surya, once famously said on this program, he said that thanks to the 19th Amendment, the presidency has been reduced to that of a eunuch. You know, how I miss Hemanta, because he, you know, his insight is amazing. But isn't that true, though?
Hemanta made that statement.
Yeah, well, upstairs in the other studio.
Yeah, that was after he returned from Italy?
Well, probably. I don't know. Yes, must have done it. Yes, of course it was. The West is spreading negative news about anyone who can save this country to propel RW into the president's chair. Another one. I don't know which area that's from, but anyway, it's a message.
Yeah, he has the backing of Western countries. But we must also consider the backing received by the speaker, Karujaya Surya, because a section of the civil society
Well, that
wants,
very partisan, the most partisan speaker ever, in the opinion of some.
Some years.
Cases against the Rajapaksas are being closed one by one. Who is behind this? Another question.
What do you want me to say?
I don't know. You tell me. They're asking the questions. Cases against the Rajapaksas are being closed one by one. Who is behind this?
I think you should pose that question to Justice Minister Thalatha Tukorara.
Really?
Definitely, because earlier, you know, the period which Mrs. Dilrukshi Wickramasinghe referred to, I think Dr. Vijaydas Rajapaksa was the minister in charge of justice portfolio at that time. Now it's Thalatha Tukorara.
But you can see how these things play out.
For us,
You know,
here in this country,
yeah.
politicians always interfered in investigations. You know it, I know it.
But honestly, if we want to solve this corruption problem,
Okay, name an honest politician.
Sajid
Can you?
Premadasa.
I don't
Sajid
think,
Premadasa.
for us, I don't think our
Tell me
parliament,
I'm wrong, take me to court, and I'll stand on my head and say the same thing.
I cannot vouch for any politician because
I know it's being a bit unfair.
no, I don't blame any person, but I tell you, for us, if you really inquire into the parliament, you will realize that all members of parliament, all political parties represented in parliament
There's one
are
or two-
utterly corrupt.
This is one exception that I can think of instantly.
Utterly corrupt system we have.
Yeah. Well, you know, back to this question.
Can you
Go back to this question.
Simple question. For 2 years, the parliament did not debate the bond report. Why? Did any member of the UMP or any other political party raise that issue?
Good point.
No.
Good point.
For 2 years, because it was submitted in early 2018. Now we are going to face elections. The parliament will not take it up. I am telling you, the media should focus on the parliament, because parliament, I believe,
Wow, I'll tell you what.
very corrupt
Newsfirst
institution.
has spent so much of time, energy, money, and resources in
do you know,
holding
for
this
us,
bond matter
do you
right
know,
up there.
for us, do you know that all members of the parliament received free trips to China, all 225 over the past 2 years? Do you know that they received laptops and computers from the People's Republic of China?
All secretaries should be permanent secretaries, not political secretaries. It is a must towards achieving an equitable playing field.
I think for us, we can begin, we can push for 2 or 3 things, that they must stop accommodating defeated candidates on the national list. People must not be allowed to change sides.
Indeed.
And the presidential pardon must not be given to any person. Any person found guilty by courts must not be freed by the president. That power should be abolished. Things will change.
Well, that's true. But here we go. So we've come to the end of half an hour. Do you know, that's amazing. Thank you to everyone in the control room, and thank you for all the drivers and so on who've braved the weather to bring Shamindra here on time. And of course, thanks to the roads. We're all here. And that's the way it was on Newsline, on a day that once again the public and the UMP membership are still waiting for a decision on who their candidate is going to be. So interesting times ahead, I'm sure. Follow Newsfirst if you want to be kept up to date with all the latest from that front. Thank you, Shamindra Ferdinando. Thank you, everybody. And take care and be careful out there. It's wet. And of course, God bless.
Newsfirst Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.